score is 4.5 and the second score is 3.6.
Yeah, so what I did in the very beginning was I went, I did the usual, the easiest way is to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
Yeah. The rubric will even them out. We'll kind of scale them back, and not scale them. We'll work with those percentages to try and reflect a mark that is consistent with the kind of grades you're given. But I find, I mean, I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to have it just right. I like to know that if someone has gotten all marks in the credit column, then it should be a credit.
I think that's right. A good thing to be a control freak about, because if students get that back and they go, yeah, but it gave me a pass mark, a very high pass mark, but still a pass, then there's going to be trouble.
So all I did was test it out.
Test it out.
Yeah. So that it was just a matter of, well, what does that add up to? If I give it all, and that's not a hard test with a score of 35, you kind of get a rough idea of what your credits are, and you just want to know. All right, if it's all in that category, it's got to be clear, right?
Absolutely.
So that's how I tweak those marks. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. Again, you can edit the comments and edit the individual marks. Okay, have you got any questions with that so far? Straightforward. Okay, and then we have more of a qualitative. So if you go down to the bottom and click on the 0. Basically, there are no marks, and it's just up to you.
You just go ting, 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 and then at the end, I assume somewhere there's a. Oh, sorry, we're doing the performer. But somewhere there's when you're marking a student paper, you have to go right 21 out of 25 or something like that.
Because we're in the editing of the rubric, we don't have that option because all we're doing now is creating.
Of course, yeah.
So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. You just tick the boxes, and then you go. You know what? This is this paper. I don't have to have any numbers there to justify it because I'm a doctor. You think that'll be enough, right?
No. It's teaching. Everyone's an expert.
So yeah, so I've talked you through the scales. So the scales are all these big loads of boxes. The criterion is on the left side. Yep. Linking to a paper is pretty straightforward. If you want to click on that chain, I should have used a simpler one. Oh, sorry. So save those first. So go down to the bottom right corner and save it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and that symbol there means it's linked, and you have an option. Well, what that means is it's the command to detach.
Yeah.
The other one was the command to link. Yeah. So if you close that down the bottom right hand corner, you'll now notice that you have a rubric.
Yes.
Yeah? We've got this set up as qualitative.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a good way of kind of dealing with the question you've asked. So if you just go down and click a stack of them.
Yep.
Yeah? And you must make sure you click them all. So in relevance, you've missed one.
Thank you.
And I unfortunately think that's because of today's... and this is a big rubric, as I say. I probably should have picked a smaller one. Should have picked a small one. We can go into the other. I just wanted to give you a sense of how to create one, and I didn't want to create one in the FE because you've
got one.
You've already got one, yeah.
Exactly.
So because it's a qualitative rubric, you can't apply that rubric to the score. So if you go up to the see the top right corner, see the 4%. Next to that, you can just type in the score. 20. Yeah. Awesome. And if you don't have to close it, but if you were to close it, then what would happen is that mark of 20 would be on the submission inbox.
Yep. And at this point, we've given we've gone 20. We'd flip over here and we'd pull in some comments, or we'd say, okay, overall, this paper represents a good effort at something or other. Yep.
And to be honest, you'd want to have those already pre-written in a cut and paste document, Word document. I use my notes because that way I can use it easily on the iPad as well. And I've just got a stack of comments that I've developed over time that just.
That was what I was going to say though, because when you're getting started, you're marking. You might be like, hey, I need to write a comment for this paper, and that's the kind of comment I'm going to. So you're writing it for the paper, but you're trying to write it in general terms because it's going into the bank, and you're going to use it 100 times in the future because it says something about not using independent research or something like that, and you want to go right, I can use that in 10 different assignments.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you go down to the bottom of my all my different apps and look at the notes application.
Yep. Oh, sorry, stick with notes.
So there you go. If you look at, no, you're over to, that's all right.
Yep.
If you look down there, I've got, they're the digital
Digital
story
story
comments. If you go down a bit to the cut comments underneath digital story,
Yeah.
so I've got it.
Ah, nice. I was wondering where you stored all these.
I've got them in a Word document as well that I keep in a marking folder, and I will give you these obviously, but then you'll tweak them, and what you'll find is that they grow. I nicked these off someone, you know, that's how we work, isn't it? These are relevant to anthropology essays that I've been marking a lot, but they actually transfer to different essays, to different subjects quite easily. And what you can, I've generally taken a lot of these off a standard document we have about how to write essays. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
No, that's great.
And that just means cut and paste. And but you do always sort of complement that with a one-liner that really does personalise it, and also because all of these things are relevant to 90% of the students. But then, and you can probably get away with most students just having a cut and paste of prefab comments. But it is always good to just where possible, just one line. You know, because most essays you can just write one line. You know, I really liked how you did this. That was awesome. Or you know, well, I struggle with this. Blah blah blah, and then all your prefabs come in. It just you know, minimises your comment, your questions at the end. Kind of you know, you're still efficient, but you're also providing that high level of assessment and comments. All right, in your comment section, if you want to close the notes down. As I say, I'll send these out to you. You've got an option to either type in there or to make a voice comment. Awesome. It depends on what you're up for. Some people, if for you know, OH&S reasons, prefer not to type a lot.
Yeah, well, just before you started marking the digital stories, I went to a PD workshop on voice comments, and the guy, you know, is as much as a zealot about that as you are about this, and he reckoned it saved him heaps of time, and he was all for the personal, like the students think it's really personal, you know, that he's talking to them about what they've done, and it seemed, you know, he's recording like 15-minute comments and stuff like that. Obviously, he wasn't doing it through here; he was doing it. And then sending and he had his workflow down pat. I'll give him that, but yeah, I was like, oh, that's not the kind of time I've got. But there's other parts of what he was saying, obviously, that could be useful for a 2 or 3 minute comment max.
I tell you where it is really valuable is when you're supervising master's students.
Yes.
It's not valuable for it's certainly not valuable for large cohort undergraduate students, because that's 15 minutes of you talking. That is essentially you're not getting paid for.
This guy was teaching like 15 and 20 students per class. And
that's
so
doable.
Totally
that's totally doable.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, you know, 15 minutes of talking often works out to, you know, 45 seconds of cutting and pasting. If you've got your prefab set up.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah.
What we might do is go back into your rubrics section. Rubric section, because we'll just finish off the rubric part. Click on the spanner. Yeah, I want you to unlink it. No, it's not allowed. So I want you to close. Yeah, it is. Close this off. Close the. Yeah. What happens sometimes is that it takes a little while to sync to turn it in. I'll get you to close the paper. We'll open it up again once those little funny little dots have gone through. Shouldn't take too long. If you just open it up again, it should be fine. What happens is, because it needs to be linked, it's unlinked to edit. Sometimes you can't edit it straight away after unlinking, because it needs to synchronise to acknowledge. Especially with 200 students, it takes a little longer to go right. Cut it away from all these things. So you've got no rubric attached to it now. Yeah. So go up to your spanner. And go up into your little square box with the arrow and export. Okay, now you've got this awesome rubric that you've created. You can save that file somewhere else. You don't have to do it now because it's a bit of, you know, and I generally, whenever I create a rubric, I always save it because you never know when you're going to use it.
So rubrics are RBCs.
Yeah.
And quick marks are QMS.
Yeah. Now if you go up in the dot point on the top left corner, okay, click on that. You can create new rubrics or duplicate them. If you're testing out a number of different rubrics, it's always good to duplicate it and compare them if you want. Again, it's up to the setup, but once you've set it up nicely and you're doing repeat subjects, smooth for the next year. And if you are creating a new rubric, again, it's about actually click on create new rubric. Don't worry too much about the grading forms. They're not. They tend to just be about setting up, criterion and stuff like that.
Sure.
You can add criterion.
Which is
simple one there, and you can add scales.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easy.
And a really simple one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0.
Yep.
Yeah. So fail. Sorry. HD D.
Yep.
Credit.
Yep.
A high pass.
Yep.
And then 0 fail.
Yep.
But some people move the other way where it's a 1 for a fail.
Yep.
Depending on the teacher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Close it down. Okay, what we're going to do is go into the quick mark section. Excellent. Now these are some pretty standard quick marks that are just commonly used ones that come with Turnitin.
Yes.
Whenever you do it, right?
Yep.
I want you to go up to the spanner. Okay. Now if you go up to the arrow, the square with the arrow. Okay, browse, quick marks and rubrics, research project QMS, and import.
And so there's an organising function that I just saw a minute ago that had composition, something to do, putting it under different. And so, do you organise your quick marks under different headings? Okay.
I have a quick mark all, so all of the comments I've got, and that's basically to save it, because if I'm moving between universities, I like to know that I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Absolutely.
It just becomes too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
It says no file selected.
Oh, does it? Sorry.
Yeah, go into browse.
What did it do all that time then?
Dodgy.
It was doing something.
So that, for example, the quick marks that I sent you, you can just easily import them in. And the reason why that'd be good for you is because then you can actually look at them and go, all right, I'm going to use these ones and cut and paste the information that's already there.
How do you stop it from getting unwieldy? Is it just by breaking them into those subcategories kind of thing, like essay quick marks, digital story quick marks, or something like that? Or, I don't know, what do we...
Just press close. I don't know why it's not...
Import complete.
Oh, okay.
It's cool. They should be around
somewhere. So go into your spanner again. Yeah. And close that. That's it. Close it. That's what it is. We've got 2 of them, so you can actually delete one of them if you want. So it's just it's obviously this is a slightly different. I don't know if you go to where is it? Oh, I forgot how to delete.
Delete set. There you go.
Yeah,
delete set. There.
Yeah. So you can delete that set. Alright, so now you've got research project. This is big because I've created them. It's not unwieldy. Yeah. If you were to use this, it'd be a bit too overwhelming, I think, because there's so many things you have to learn. Essentially, you're learning a whole heap of different codes.
But I can see it straight away. I mean, there's ambiguous sitting there. Other students, great, I get it. Or, but if I come down, there'll be R for referencing somewhere.
Ref up there.
Yeah, ref. There we go. Author does not reference. And so I wanted to ask you about this too, because I saw this HTML code buried in our marking. Is there anything that we can do about getting rid of the HTML code in there?
Just go into actions. I mean, it is unfortunate. I can only... don't do that. Go into edit. Unfortunately, what this is enter. Do you know what I mean? That was an enter, basically, in a different...
Right. I thought it was in parentheses. Yeah, gotcha.
So if you just press enter, if you press enter, then it would have been like a new line.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah?
Oh, right, gotcha. It would have been a new line.
So that's like where, that's what, it would have been like that, right?
Gotcha. No, that's fine now that I know what it is, because I was like, I wonder what that is and if it has to be there and whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter.
In my mind, I'm like, you know what? There's so many of them,
Yeah.
and what it potentially was there was a really big software change in Turnitin in about 2000 and when was it? 2010 or 11. And for some reason,
Didn't like that
all
stuff.
old exported rubrics and QMS just had that.
Yeah.
So and to be honest, it's not worth it for me because I've got so many.
Oh
countries
no,
I've
it wouldn't
worked
be.
with,
But
edit them.
obviously, now that I know what it is, I can setting mine up from scratch or almost scratch. You know what I mean? I can. Yep, that's good. Great.
So obviously you can then, if you select just 3 randomly,
Yeah, sure.
3 of those comments, and so with and go up to actions, you can add to set. You can, you can add it to the sets that already exist,
Yeah.
or you can create a new set
Yes,
on the basis of
gotcha.
them. So, whatever you want to call it. There you go.
Please test.
And you can organise it that way. Very easy to organise. Yeah.
Oh.
Now, so where
Can we
am I?
apply one? Is that right?
Yeah. So we applied a rubric, importing quick marks, edit quick marks before mark. Okay. So you've created a new set. You've been able to edit quick mark sets. Now, if you go back into your that's how you can toggle between sets as well whilst you're marking.
Yep.
And that's fine because if you have a couple of different sets,
Yep.
you might even have it where you've got one which is composition. Individual sets are composition referencing or whatever,
Exactly.
and so you can toggle between them. So you only have a few in this screen that you can quickly drag and drop.
Yeah.
I don't work like that because I've found with me I work so quickly that is an additional thing to do.
Sure. So what would you have up here displayed normally? Would you have all, or would you have?
Well, I have either essay,
Yeah.
proposal, book review, digital story.
So you do break them down like that, as in
Yeah.
what am I marking, and then try to organise it that way. Yeah.
On the what I do is I go to my all set, and I just highlight the ones that I know I'm going to use.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I know that are not relevant. I don't highlight them.
Yeah.
And so you can either drag and drop over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Or you can highlight some text. So if you highlight, that first line, and then you can click on that.
Yeah.
There you go. And the good thing about highlighting is that it makes it really clear to the student in the comments list that gets printed up at the end of the paper, and they come away with this report that is really detailed. Even little things like I've got little things that have put comment here or put comma here or inverted commas, and I'm actually going to, I didn't realise I'd need to do it, but with this cohort, possessive as opposed to plural.
Yes. Yes. Don't
About
get me
time,
started about education students and writing. I don't know. They're not good at maths, so you would think it would be writing, but no, it doesn't work like that.
So that's how you can play with those. Pretty straightforward. If you just highlight a bit and then just click, it opens up a new comment, and you can just type a new comment.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you can highlight it different colours, and you can save that as a new quick mark. So, before you do that,
Sorry, I'll edit it. Yeah. Go back and edit. Yeah. Save as a new quick mark.
And then you can add it to a particular. You can title it. Why or whatever you want. You would definitely have to give it a title. Because that's what you'll see in this quick mark set, and you save it to test, and you've now got a new quick mark.
Cool.
Yeah, very, very quick.
Very, very quick.
And you can do it as you're going. And you'll notice, I've done this once. You might even just go, that's a hot comment. I'm going to save that. Even if I don't use that again here, that's going to come up again, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
I might just get you to go to the rubrics. This is another function that you can do. It's going to look really clunky with this particular rubric because it is such a complex rubric. So if you go into the rubric, what I'll get you to do is click it onto the percentage one, because we've got percentage marks in there. Save it and attach it to the paper. You're all over it. Look at you. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it, right?
Yeah. No, it's organised relatively well.
Yeah. And as I say, it's just that first investment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you're away. Close that.
you just ideally want to be setting it up at the start of the semester rather than running and gunning in the middle. That's where I can imagine in a cohort of 300 with 7 tutors or something like that, if you're running and gunning to get it set up on the fly, you know, you make mistakes that people don't catch until they're using it, and then it's...
Yeah, that's all right. You
can
always have
okay.
workarounds. You can always have workarounds. First run, you often get those things anyway, right? So that's fine. Just scroll down to the bottom of the rubric. Just this is something that you can be aware of. Write down. Oh, it's okay. So if you click on one of those buttons, one of the buttons up, one of the marks. Yeah. Okay. Scroll down. It doesn't. Oh no. Let me just. I don't know why it's not doing that. Oh yeah. Right down the bottom, you can have that button which says apply rubric percentage to grade. If you do that. That's a quick way, once you've clicked the boxes, that you can just quickly generate that mark.
Oh, right. And see where they're up to, kind of thing. So you're midway through your massive rubric, you go, okay, this is looking like a credit now, or something like that. Is that what you mean?
I wouldn't use the massive rubric.
No.
This was for the kids. This was for the kids. I would never use a rubric. I would use a rubric. The best rubric is displayed on one of these panels.
Okay. Yep.
Best rubric. Yep. You can see it straight away, right? And our digital story rubric wasn't too far off.
Yeah, real close.
Yeah.
8 instead of 6 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that was totally cool. That was a very user friendly rubric. But the reason I'm showing you this is that once you've clicked all the dots, it gives you an opportunity to apply the rubric. What's really important though is that you make sure that every category has a click, because otherwise that will affect the grade. Yeah, because it'll apply a grade even if you don't have one clicked. Which an 8.4%, you know, you go, oh, hang on, you know. So that's one thing to be aware of. That's just applying a rubric to the grade. Go back to your quick marks. Okay, I want you to set up a comment. So highlight something and just click a comment. And then now this is before you do anything. This is a sneaky little feature. Depending on the kind of cohort you have, if you look at that set of boxes, it represents your rubric. If you click on the drop down on that, you can actually associate this comment with a rubric mark.
Oh, right. Okay. So if there's something that's like a real glaring kind of problem, and it's so bad that you're like, this has literally detracted from your final score. This is so terrible. Referencing, for example, you could go down, find referencing on here, save.
Yeah, and you can even save it as a new quick mark so that every time you do it, it connects to referencing.
What if you've got a rubric that's not... yeah, okay.
For this
one, not for ever and ever eternity. Yeah, cool.
Now save that.
Yeah, save as a new quick mark.
Nah, just save it.
Just save it, okay, yeah.
And then, again, this is awful, that's awesome. You can delete it, you can remove it from that. Don't remove it because I want to show you something. Yeah. If you go down to your rubrics, and we'll find referencing, you see there, it has these things which says there are marks attached. So you go up to referencing and look at that comment, hover. Yeah, and you can click on that and it'll tell you the comment.
That's pretty neat. Now, do you do that, or is that the kind of stuff that slows down the machine?
It depends on the cohort, depends on... it does slow down the machine, but I can still... If you have a small enough rubric, and you choose the comments you want to put onto it...
Yeah, you can still whip through it.
Yeah, it's not that time consuming. Because you wouldn't do every comment to it. But you might do one or two that goes, you know what, check this out. That's great for you. Makes a really detailed report for the students. Just if your heads are after transparency and objectivity, you can't fault it. Yeah, it's just so straightforward. And again, when you're coming to that rubric and you want to go, oh, how did they go? If it's a big paper, like 400 words, it's not necessary. Yeah. If you're doing 3,000 word papers and you kind of by the end of it, your heads are mush. Yeah. And you're trying to mark that rubric and you go, oh, what's going on? You've got these great comments to connect it explicitly.
Yeah. On something like a research proposal, that'd be really valuable too because it's dense. There's so much to it, and it might be 20 or 30 pages.
Exactly. So where are we? We've got these. We're coming towards close to the end. We can import quick marks, edit quick marks. You can edit them before you mark, so you can create all your quick marks. And if you go up into your screen, into your spanner, So you can edit the actual quick mark, as we did when we tweaked the HTML. You can move them into different sets, copy them to different sets.
How do we edit this here?
So if you look up in the top right corner, edit. that gives you a chance to edit them. Now you can save or cancel that, or okay, you can do these before you start marking, but even if you edit, unlike the rubrics, if you edit them whilst you're marking, the new edits apply to all the marks in that assessment.
Okay.
So that's actually quite handy.
Yes.
It doesn't mess up previous comments.
Yep.
And it actually makes it can actually make it much more consistent.
Okay.
You can select them as we've done. You can select them, add them to a new set or add them to an existing set.
Yep.
You can delete quick marks. Let me see. So when you can delete sets.
Yes.
When you are on that, you can have, if you click onto action, if you've highlighted one, you can action and you can do other, remove from this set. Yeah.
Awesome. Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Easy.
Very easy to do. You've created a quick mark, you've edited a quick mark, you know how to make an active set. You can do it from either here or in grade mark.
Yep.
So from here, if you've got that set, you can. This is already active, but
Yep.
if you were to highlight a different set,
Yep.
you can make this the active set.
Yeah. Great.
Now I want you to go and export a quick mark. So back in that square with the arrow, up in the top right corner. And export the set. And again, you don't have to actually save it, but this is how you would save it.
Yes.
And every time you create a new quick mark set, which is generally pretty awesome, I would save it because you never know.
Yep.
Yeah, just save it, you never know.
Yep.
Expart, use quick mark, you've done...
so quick marks are attached to you as a Moodle user. That is any of my subjects that are on my Moodle, I go in and I go to make a rubric in there. My quick marks are automatically there for me to select. Right?
Yeah, you will now always have test and research project in your Moodle.
Yep.
You'll now always have that research project rubric, which I suggest you delete. It's not going to do you any favours.
No worries. And how do I make them available to others? They're automatically available when I attach those quick marks to that rubric, right?
Unfortunately, no. This is the issue with when you were trying to edit my quick marks.
And I couldn't remove the R in paraphrase, yeah?
All you would do, like I did, is you would send... The rubric, you can't edit once it's in.
Yes.
Yeah, once it's attached, no one should be editing it.
No.
That'll mess with your marks.
Exactly.
The quick marks, all you do is send out an email to all your markers, go, these are the quick marks I'm using. But what it does is it gives, because it's not global, it gives them the individual freedom to create quick marks that work for them as well.
Of course, yeah, right. Rather than a unified set of educational research quick marks, which we could have if I emailed them out to people. Instead they have, here's what I use, but Russell, I know that you are referencing, machine, and you'll want to have some more detailed ones about referencing, and Russell
exactly
has his own.
Yeah, and what you would do is you'd set up a few basic ones.
Yes.
That cover the kinds of things as a convener you want them to pay attention to.
Yep.
And give them the option to then add their own and create them on the fly, because you want to be able to create them whilst you create new quick marks whilst you're marking, because that's where the build comes from. Yeah. And that's where it makes it easier for the next time you mark. Yeah. But having said that, you can create them on the fly. You can also basically steal all the ones that I've given you. If you ever get a moment to look through them, steal them and cut and paste them and rename them whatever you want. And that just sort of saves you time.
Yeah, sure.
And I wouldn't be what I would do is import my all quick marks in there and just have a little browse through. And
start nabbing ones that you like and call it something, call it a new set kind of thing. Yeah. Ken's work in progress set, and just work back and forth for a while between your all and my work in progress as I find ones that I like.
And I would actually create smaller sets that you could use for one assessment. So how we could make different sets active whilst you're in your quick mark.
Sure. Yeah.
So set one up just for composition, one just for expression, one just for research and referencing, and that'll give you a chance to learn the codes, and then by the time you've learnt those codes, it'll be really easy for you to go, you know what, I'm just going to have all these on one page. I know what they are.
Yeah, cool.
So that's all the quick marks. That's pretty straightforward. Any questions regarding the quick marks or rubrics?
No,
excellent.
It,
If we close that one off, we're nearly at the end. Comments, we've already covered the comments. You can either type comments in directly. You can cut and paste from a prefab list, which you either save as a Word document or put on your notes, whatever works for you, or you can make voice commands.
Yes.
Now with the comments list, if you go down next, in between the rubrics and the comments, you've got a comments list, right? So basically what this is it shows you the comments that you've got. You can expand the pages and you can see what you've given them.
Yep.
Yeah?
Sure. Yep.
That's up to you for how you, I never generally use it, but what this does is it helps you see the kind of report that's generated for the students. Yep. And it shows you that it can actually be, like if you take something like this and compare it to the fact that they've written 400 words for their digital story, it looks pretty comprehensive to them.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks really comprehensive.
Yeah. Well, when I was going through yours, I was like, man, there's heaps in here. No one could fault, you know, the overall marking of this in terms of its detail or depth or whatever. If you want to improve, there's so much info in here to rake through paragraph by paragraph. You know, there's only 4 paragraphs for most of them, but sentence by sentence, there's heaps there.
And it's about establishing a transparent process with very clear instructions.
Yeah.
And even the responses to emails are basically cut and pasted from a lot of comments that I have. So it looked like I did a really full-on email, and it kind of was, right?
It did, yeah.
But it was work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
Okay, comments list using the iPad. So you can install the app from the Apple App Store onto your iPad.
Yep.
I'm not a what's the other platform?
Google. How are we computer nerds not getting this? Android.
Android. I'm not an Android user, but I believe there is an Android app. Pretty straightforward. We've already gone through creating a new user and connecting using the paper ID.
Yep.
Okay. If I can get you to pick up the app. Whoops. Oh, you're right. Okay, if you go into EDR, and you can go into your assessment task 2A. Okay, so we have all these. They haven't actually synced up yet. They can though, so you can set it up. So the way I've set it up is because I use this when I'm out. I don't like syncing on my cellular because it actually uses up a lot of data. You can actually sync them all in, and that's the sync button.
Before you go out to 3 hours of swimming lessons or something.
Exactly, and that's what I was doing. Kids swimming lessons. I was marking digital stories. I had my headphones. I was watching them and marking them. And then you come home and you sync them again.
So the one, this is almost a deal breaker for me because I'm like, you know, one of my big problems with this is that I spend 30 hours a week staring at a computer screen. To add another X many of those, marking is like, no thanks, I don't want to do that. I'm happy to take a bit of paper and it gives me much more flexibility in terms of where I go. The iPad goes close to what I'm describing there because mostly, you know, its screen is a little bit better if you want to sit outside or whatever. The one thing that I thought of was when you go to write your comments, obviously typing on the iPad, you know, if you want to type out a paragraph is horrible. And I guess the answer is cut and paste. So you need to make sure that your notes, which is where you keep them right in notes, are synced up so that...
Very easy to do, right? So, so what I do is I'm turn it in, and I've got the paper. You know, click on the notes, open it up,
grab something you want.
Double click. So you're not moving through, you know.
And you find that time-wise, flicking between those two screens, that's fine. That's pretty quick still on the iPad. I mean, this would be faster, right? I'm
gonna be honest with you. This is the fastest.
Yes,
this is still quicker than paper.
I can believe that
because you've got it down. You've got a system.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and you're not doing loads of comments in the drag and drop. So for the see, I did these, so I would highlight. So you can add comments, individual comments, okay? Or you can attach it to the rubric like we did. So the functionality is pretty similar. You can highlight like that. You can, you know, there's your quick marks.
And you just held that for a second, didn't you?
Held it. You can just, all you do is you click on it. I won't because this is a student's
it's already
paper.
marked,
When you add new comments, you can save it to a new quick mark as well. originality report.
Yeah.
Okay, you can turn it on and still use your quick marks.
Yeah, so this is actually where this is stronger.
This is where this is a little stronger because I can just highlight and go, you know what, cut and paste, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have to flick between the two. Having said that, flicking between the two on the computer is not that bad. But when you've got loads of it and you want to do it, it's a
little bit of a win, right?
Yeah. That's where you go. You click on the mark to get into the grading functionalities. You can record a comment straight in.
Well, that would be one of the ways to get around if you did need to say something original and you were like, I'm not going to type or whatever, even if it's a 30-second comment, just say, hey Matt, I just wanted to add one thing here, and that was that I really like the way that you focused on a difficult issue, even though you knew it was a difficult issue or something like that.
Excellent.
Just like, boom, done.
Excellent. These are my cut comments.
Yep.
Sorry, my general comments that I've cut. So with my digital story, what I did was I didn't actually go back and forwards to my notes. What I did is I just copied and pasted the whole thing and just pasted it into the general comments and deleted the things that weren't necessary.
You can't do that as a template or anything, can you? Like do it for all 255. You have to paste it in each time.
I haven't worked that out yet, but I'm.
You get what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah,
if you could paste one in to all 255 essentially before you start marking.
I was actually thinking that very thing.
That might not be bad. Because you just go delete.
I don't imagine that's a hard task to inquire through Turnitin.
We should ask about that one.
Exactly. I don't think it might be. And I just haven't found the settings on here. No. But yeah, that you're absolutely right. That would actually speed up the iPad exponentially.
Because there's no flicking.
You can open the rubric.
Yep.
And rubric on the iPad is really straightforward. Again, we're struggling with internet. Yeah, it's just touch. You know.
It looks nice.
And you can it's very easy to use. What you do have to watch with the iPad is you are touching these. Okay, so that's the last one. So and then you just apply it to grade.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You can't edit your rubric. Oh, you can't edit your rubric in iPad, but you don't want to.
No, it should be nailed down by then. Yep.
Yeah, you go back to your grade overview. You can edit your mark, edit your grade.
Yep.
You've got your information in the iPad, or the info that we looked at before. That's when you go into your comment screen. It has it all. You know, page count, file size, word count, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So you have all that information at your fingertips, literally. Yeah. Just by going back, it syncs it up. You know, and you come home and you sync it. I mean, they're all synced, right? Tells you how many you've got left to mark. There's another benefit of iPad. So you don't have on that one. So you can kind of keep your head in track as well.
Yeah. If you're setting little goals for yourself, like I've got to do 15 before I can go out for my walk or whatever.
Exactly, right? So you knew that person is your login screen and all the rest of it, and you can connect to new papers. You can create a new ID, that sort of stuff. And there's your University of Wollongong. When I was doing 3 unis, I had all 3 unis in here. You know, instead of carrying boxes of papers, so easy. You know, UAW, UNSW and Macquarie. So easy.
Yep.
And they're all separated, no confidentiality issues.
Yeah.
All separated really nice and neat. And you can give them feedback. There you go. Give us global comments that we can put in.
Yeah, that's right.
Just very finally, we're going to look at exporting marks into SMP. So if you close out of there and get into... So just before we move on, do you have any questions relating to Turnitin, quick marks, grade marks, comments, and rubrics?
No, I think we've answered them as we've been going.
Yeah, they're pretty good. It's pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Close it down. Yep. You're going to need to get into your SMP. Oh, if you go to my everyday, go to UAW folder, go to SMP.
You're organised, bro.
Yeah, continue. You got to be. Just log into mine. It's fine. Just go into login because it's the same deal, right?
Yep.
Find your cohort. Is that your cohort? That's who you want to work with? Yeah, cool. Class role. Excellent. Sluggish. Go to task marks. Okay, and if you go to the assessment task that you want to import from Moodle, click on edit. Click on edit, and up in the top there, you have a number of different options, one of which down the end is import from Moodle. You don't have to do it now because you haven't got any marks in there, but it's really straightforward. Yeah. So once you've set up, once you've done all your rubrics and you've done all your marking and you've gotten, each paper has a mark, then you can basically just import it in really easily.
Can you import in? I think the answer is yes, but you can import in progress too, right? Let's say for some reason you've marked half of them, you want to import it in for some random reason. That's fine, right? And then you can update it down the track with another import and just writes over the top.
Absolutely. You can also export from Moodle into a database if you prefer to work off your own database, and some people do. I do because I work with some pretty complex calculations on things that So because when I use my attendance sheet / active listening exercise that I use to encourage students to come to lectures and also to encourage their active listening skills, which is essentially like getting marks for turning up and doing what they have to do. But I have a calculation process that isn't. You can't really work easily on something like SMP or Moodle. Sure. So I basically run them all into one, but then that's just, I'm a control freak, so I get a bit like that. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're that way inclined, because it can be more hassle than it's worth, and sometimes I think I just enjoy playing around with the functionality of programs more than I like to make a spreadsheet sing because it's like a challenge. So I don't know if that's just my bug there.
No, I'll probably be all right on that front, but I can see the usefulness, obviously. Big cohorts, and if you have to mark to a curve or something. Yeah,
and the good thing about using your own spreadsheet is that when you set it up as a table, you can sort the information really easily, get access to a range of information like mnemonics for students. So I use mnemonics to remember students. So there's a range of things you can use if that's the way that you roll. But trust me, it's taken me a while, because when you first start, you put all that effort in. You go, I'm going to do all this stuff. But then once the effort's done, and you become a bit more jaded, you're like, I'm not going to put all the effort in to start. But the effort's already been put in, and it actually makes it an easy process. And again, it's about student experience. I mean, our jobs are dependent on those freaking feedback forms, right? And you're not undermining the quality of the content. You're maximising the student experience without maximising the labour that you're not getting paid for. Sound cool? Just very finally, I'll point you to these instructional videos that you have links to on the learning program that I supplied to you. There's some instructional videos that set you up. They pretty much cover everything that we've done. And the instructional manual, there's a link there. That's that big document that I sent out to you via email.
That'll be good when I need to induct 6 tutors into all of this so that we can mark this time next year online.
Digital story, mate. Honestly, one screen video, one screen quick grade mark.
I think that's a no-brainer, that one.
Total no-brainer. Great one to learn on because it's small. You can cut down those comments so that they're the ones that you can work with. You can just have a selection of 20 comments. That gets them motoring.
I'm going to start with postgrads next semester because there's only like 10 of them, and so that's an easy one. It's mostly like essays or research proposal kind of stuff. So we'll get started on that, and then the M-Teach this time next year that has 200 students and 5 campuses. That might be or 4 campuses or something. Look, that might be the first one we dive in deep with a big cohort.
To be honest, the big cohorts are where you see the benefits. They really are where you see the benefits, especially if you're using a rubric. Takes the think work out, because even with the paper rubrics, what mark do I give them? How do you calculate that mark? I mean, I've created an Excel spreadsheet that does that. Of course.
Have you had an instance where you've been the subject coordinator and you've had tutors? I know that's not normally how you work. You're normally in charge of everything and do it all as well. But have you had an instance where you've had tutors working under you and they've refused to do this, and if so, what was the word? Because so far the word from us is you have to be consistent. Everyone's getting their stuff marked online, or no one's getting their stuff marked online. You can't have here and there. And I can imagine, for example, I might be able to get everyone at Wollongong to come on board, but I might struggle to get like Bateman's Bay and Shellhaven